TIFU by accidentally joining a cult because of a typo in my search bar. It started innocently enough. I've been feeling a bit lost lately, the usual existential dread mixed with millennial burnout. I decided to look into meditation, maybe find some guided sessions online to help calm my racing thoughts. I typed meditation retreats near me into my search bar, but my fat fingers betrayed me and I accidentally typed medication retreats near me. Now I know what you're thinking, medication retreat sounds suspicious, right? But honestly, in my sleep-deprived, stress-addled state, it just sounded like a more intense, perhaps holistic form of wellness retreat. I clicked on the first link, which had some very calming stock photos of people meditating in nature and testimonials about finding inner peace and unlocking your true potential. The website was surprisingly professional, if a little vague on specifics. They talked a lot about ancient wisdom and transformative experiences, which in my naive state I just chalked up to new agey marketing jargon. I filled out the application form, which asked a lot of personal questions about my spiritual journey and desire for enlightenment. Red flags I know, but again I was just rolling with it, thinking it was part of the deep dive aspect of the retreat. I even paid the deposit, like a hefty sum, but I figured investing in my mental health was worth it. A few weeks later, I got an email confirming my spot and giving me the address. It was in a remote location deep in the woods, which I actually found appealing. Disconnecting from the city sounded great. Fast forward to arrival day. I drove for hours, finally reaching a secluded compound surrounded by a high fence. Okay, slightly less zen garden and more compound. But still, I was trying to keep an open mind. I was greeted by a group of people in white robes who were overly enthusiastic and kept calling me Seeker. They confiscated my phone and other electronics, which they said was to minimize distractions and enhance the experience. Then came the orientation. That's when things started to get really weird. They started talking about the Great Leader, a being of pure energy who would guide us to ascension. They showed us videos of the Great Leader, who looked suspiciously like a man in his 70s, with a questionable haircut and a penchant for dramatic pronouncements. It slowly dawned on me that I had not stumbled into a meditation retreat, but rather a full-blown bona fide cult. Panic set in. I tried to subtly ask about leaving, but they just smiled serenely and said, "Once you're here, you're home." I spent the next 24 hours in a state of low-grade terror, pretending to be enlightened and participating in bizarre rituals involving chanting and drinking some kind of suspiciously sweet sacred tea. The food was surprisingly bland and the sleeping arrangements were communal and uncomfortable. Finally, during a group sharing session, I faked a sudden illness and convinced them I needed to see a doctor. They reluctantly agreed to drive me to the nearest town, probably thinking they could easily track me down later. I bolted the second I got out of the car and haven't looked back. I'm now back home, slightly traumatized, significantly poor, and definitely need actual meditation to recover from this whole ordeal. Lesson learned, always double check your search bar, and maybe lay off the late night internet browsing when you're half asleep. Medication retreat instead of meditation? That's an expensive typo. Hopefully hitting subscribe isn't a mistake you'll regret. TIFU by mistaking my new boss for the office cleaning lady. So, I started a new job this week at a small marketing firm. First impressions are crucial, right? I wanted to come across as professional, enthusiastic, and definitely not like someone who can't tell the difference between their boss and a cleaning service employee. Well, guess how that went. My first day was a bit chaotic. I arrived early, eager to make a good impression, but the office was still pretty empty. There was a woman in casual clothes, jeans, and a t-shirt, vacuuming the reception area. She looked friendly enough, so I smiled and said, "Good morning. Is there somewhere I can wait for things to get started?" She smiled back and gestured towards the waiting area. I sat down feeling a little awkward, but figuring she was probably the cleaning lady and just getting the office ready for the day. About 10 minutes later, she finished vacuuming and walked over to me, holding out her hand. "Hi, you must be the new marketing assistant. Welcome to the team. I'm Sarah, the CEO." My jaw literally dropped. Sarah, the CEO? And I just asked her essentially where to wait for someone important to show up. I stammered out an apology, my face probably the color of a tomato. She laughed thankfully and said, "No worries. I like to keep things casual around here, and I always vacuum on Mondays. It's my weird stress relief." I spent the rest of the morning trying to recover from my epic blunder. Every time Sarah walked past my desk, I cringed internally. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, imagining how unprofessional I must have seemed. I even considered quitting on the spot and moving to a remote island where I could live out my days in shame. The worst part? Lunchtime. The team decided to order pizza to celebrate my first day. And who should be in charge of distributing the pizza boxes? Sarah, of course. As she handed me a slice, she winked and said, "Don't worry, you're not the first person to mistake me for the cleaning lady. My mom does it all the time." I managed a weak smile, but inside I was still mortified. I'm pretty sure I'm now officially known as the intern who insulted the CEO on day one. Hopefully, my marketing skills are better than my people reading skills, otherwise this is going to be a very long and embarrassing internship. TIFU by accidentally setting my dating profile location to North Korea. I recently decided to dip my toes back into the terrifying world of online dating. It's been a while and I figured, what the heck, maybe I'll actually meet someone decent this time. I downloaded a popular dating app, swiped through the usual endless stream of questionable profiles, and started tweaking my own profile to make it slightly less me. You know the drill. Anyway, I was messing around with the location settings, trying to expand my search radius because my local dating pool is about as exciting as watching paint dry. The app has a map feature where you can manually drag the pin to set your location. I was zooming out trying to get a wider view and accidentally dragged the pin way too far, like across continents far. Without realizing it, I somehow managed to drop the pin smack dab in the middle of Pyongyang, North Korea. I didn't notice the mistake immediately. I swiped a bit more, then closed the app, thinking nothing of it. The next day I opened the app again, expecting the usual assortment of local singles. Instead, I was greeted by crickets. Absolutely zero profiles. Weird, I thought. Maybe the app is glitching. I restarted my phone, checked my internet connection, the whole 9 yards. Still nothing. Then I decided to check my profile settings, and that's when I saw it. My location, Pyongyang, North Korea. I nearly choked on my coffee. Of all the places in the world, why North Korea? I have no idea how I even managed to drag the pin that far. I quickly changed my location back to my actual city, feeling a mix of embarrassment and morbid curiosity. But the damage was done, for who knows how long my dating profile was floating around the digital ether of North Korea, probably being flagged by various intelligence agencies as a potential spy, or more likely just confusing the heck out of the very few North Koreans who might have access to a dating app, if any even exist. I can only imagine the conversation. Zoinka, comrade, look at this profile. A foreigner in Pyongyang must be a capitalist infiltrator. I haven't had any actual repercussions, thankfully. No mysterious knocks on my door, no international incidents that I know of. But I'm definitely going to be more careful with my location settings in the future. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere in Pyongyang there's a confused North Korean looking at my profile and wondering what a Netflix and chill enthusiast is doing in their city. Can you imagine being the one person in North Korea who saw that profile? Talk about confusion. What do you think they were thinking? TIFU by accidentally ordering a mariachi band for my silent retreat. Okay, so context is key here. I recently signed up for a weekend silent retreat. Needed to disconnect, de-stress, find my inner zen, the whole shebang. It was at a lovely secluded retreat center in the countryside, promising peace, tranquility, and absolutely no talking. Sounds perfect, right? Leading up to the retreat, I was also planning a surprise birthday party for my best friend. Being the organized, or so I thought, person I am, I was juggling both sets of arrangements simultaneously. Party planning involves, among other things, entertainment. My friend loves mariachi music, so I decided to hire a small mariachi band to play at the party. I found a local group online, contacted them, and booked them for the Saturday evening of the party. Confirmed the date, time, location, all the usual details. Fast forward to the silent retreat weekend. I'm blissfully immersed in silence, meditating, journaling, and generally enjoying the absence of human interaction. It's Saturday afternoon, and I'm feeling incredibly relaxed, almost enlightened. I'm sitting in the garden listening to the birds when suddenly I hear faint music in the distance. At first I think it's just my imagination, a phantom sound from the outside world creeping into my peaceful bubble. But the music gets louder, and then unmistakably I hear trumpets and guitars, and is that someone singing in Spanish? My eyes widen in horror as a full mariachi band in all their vibrant, flamboyant glory marches into the serene, silent retreat center garden. They're playing a lively, upbeat tune, completely oblivious to the fact that they've just crashed the most inappropriate event imaginable. Everyone in the garden, about 20 people in total, all in various states of meditative calm, stares at the band in stunned silence. The band, clearly expecting a more enthusiastic reception, keeps playing, smiles plastered on their faces. It takes me a solid minute to realize what I've done. In my party planning frenzy, I somehow managed to book the mariachi band for the wrong location and the wrong event. Instead of serenading my friend at her birthday party, they were now serenading a group of silent, bewildered retreat attendees. The retreat leader, a very calm and collected woman, eventually approached the band and in a hushed tone, because, silent retreat, explained the situation. The band, bless their hearts, were incredibly apologetic and understanding. They packed up their instruments and quietly retreated, pun intended, leaving behind a trail of bewildered and slightly amused silent meditators. I, on the other hand, wanted to dig a hole and disappear. I spent the rest of the retreat in a state of mortified embarrassment, silently apologizing to everyone with my eyes. At least I provided some unexpected entertainment, albeit completely out of tune with the intended vibe. Mariachi band at a silent retreat, comedy gold. Subscribe for more TIFU madness and have a great day.